Initially, I think a big challenge was educating the general public about an ombudsman. What is an ombudsman? It's a really funny word, found it funny sounding, and so it was. A lot of people said, "Well, what is that? What do you do?" Now, for me as a social worker, especially when I worked in the field, it was easy to understand for someone to say, "Well, you're a social worker. I know what you do, and I know what you're here for." But ombudsman was quite challenging. Um, it's still somewhat challenging, but we've made I think, some really good strides. Um, and to just explain that the word is a Swedish word, and it just means one who acts on behalf of another. So uh, education is still ongoing, and it was initially a challenge to do that. And then I think too, maybe just the mindset, helping to challenge is helping to educate residents, staff, and even the general public, family members about um, the mindset of what long-term care is or should be, um, what to expect, and how do you meet those challenges, and how do you work within the long-term care system. So that was certainly a big challenge, just to pull people together and educate about that. And so I think we've made some really, really, really good strides in that area. Now we still have work to do, because as ombudsman, we are resident centered. And I think sometimes residents believe that we work for the nursing home, and we don't work for the nursing home. We may work alongside of nursing home staff when they're acting in the best. We would certainly work alongside them when they're acting in the best interest of the resident. But we had to make sure we instill that trust, that the residents know that, and the family members know that we're there to help them. We're their advocates. We're centered on them, and we're there to help resolve some issues and work through some problems and get them a very good resolution. And by doing that, certainly we had to work with the staff and facilities as well to bring about some change. So there were many challenges getting everyone to learn to respect and trust each other, and to understand the different roles that we all play. But I think we've made some good strides for that. Well, I'm a member, of course. I serve on the commission, and I'm very proud to be a member. And I think when initially when I was asked to serve, I thought, well, I hope I have something to add, and I think, and hopefully I do. I hope the other members think that I do. But there's just a great group of individuals, all from different backgrounds and different areas of work, but we've all come together to work toward uh, educating and improving this guardianship and conservatorship information and resources across the state. Because it's been really a big challenge, even having guardians. That's been a big issue, especially in my work in nursing homes. I do work with many residents who are under guardianship. Sometimes it's a challenge for facility staff, because they may not always be able to reach out to those individuals who are guardians to get information or to relay information about the resident. And so sometimes that's challenging. And oftentimes, I've seen, and so that's why it's so important working now to do this now, especially putting out this wonderful the guide, the Alabama guide for conservators, guardians, and conservators, that the commission um, put together and distributed. And I've distributed to a lot of the aging network. Is absolutely wonderful, that guide, because it explains what is a guardian, what is a conservator, the difference between the two. Gives some great examples of guardianship and conservatorship, and what does it look like in terms of the role that the person would play who's serving in those capacities. And so, what would be the responsibilities? I think highlighting the fact that it's extremely an important role as a guardian or a conservator, and that you shouldn't take it lightly, and you should always remember that you're acting on for the best interest of the person that who's you have the guardianship or conservatorship over. So, and it's not so much always about what you want, but what's in their best interest and what they would want that still provides them with protection. So, I love the work that we're doing. And I think that we've done a lot already, but we have a lot more to do. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. What I found in my um, conversations with uh, persons who are guardians and those who may be conservators and conversations with staff is that many of the individuals really don't know the wards. They don't know those residents. They don't know them. They don't know their stories. They don't know what perhaps their needs or desires should be. They don't spend enough time with them, and um, and that's not the fault of the facility. That's just the fact that sometimes I think we have to. It's good that the courts are working more toward ensuring that you have guardians who fully understand the role and understand that they are there for those residents or any other person outside of a long-term care setting, and that it's important that they understand the needs of the individual and that they're there to make decisions that are in the best interest of those individuals. And so, and I've actually had I can think of perhaps, well, maybe one off the top of my head, I may just briefly speak about where this person who was a guardian actually didn't have any true idea of the role and made some decisions I think that were just ridiculous in some ways. And so my conversation was the resident wanted to go outside of the facility to church, to a church that they had been going to for years and had close friendships and relationships with. But the guardian had directed the facility not to allow that person to go out. Now, this was going to be done safely because the person who was going to take them out, was going to communicate with the guardian and ensure that they take them out and bring them back, or even say, guardian, with your permission, some of them can come into the facility and spend time with that person if they didn't wish for them to go out. Because you do have to be careful. And I'm certain the guardians have to be careful about, just anyone taking a person out if they have a responsibility over them. But this was a close relationship, close family person who there was no issue with that person whatsoever. And in talking with the guardian, what I found is that they didn't really understand that they could allow them to do certain things. And they thought that, well, I just have to put them in the nursing, they're in the facility, and my job is just to make sure they're here. And I said, well, also, you've got to do the things that make that person, help make them happy. And if making them happy, is getting a visit from someone that they really love, and that person, there's no history of that person doing any harm to them, then these are things that you can discuss, with the staff, because they may know more about who comes and who goes than they would. And then maybe make some decisions and try some trial basis and see whether some things work better, especially if it caused the resident to be happy and more compliant with regards to the things that they did within the facility and the staff. And so sometimes it's just talking with guardians and educating them about the role. And some of them didn't really know very much about the residents because they didn't talk to them often. They didn't know the things that they liked or disliked. So some of those, were opportunities for me, opportunities to educate. And I found that many people didn't, it wasn't intentional necessarily, the things that they did. It was just that they didn't understand their role.